I'm Dr. James Schrader, and I'm here at the Iowa State University compost facility to continue our demonstration of the compostability of various bioplastics in home composting systems. This is now the 6th week. We have videos of the biodegradation after 2 weeks and after 4 weeks. Those are uploaded, and this is the continuation of that same project. So I'll be giving you a look at how things are after 6 weeks in compost now. This is what the samples look like after 6 weeks. Over this last 2-week cycle, the temperatures weren't quite as high as the cycle before that. In the first 2 weeks, we had temperatures up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. In the second 2 weeks, we had temperatures around 120, and then they came down to about 100 by the time we turned the compost piles. And this time they started out at about 120 for just a couple days, and then moved down to a little less than 100 degrees Fahrenheit for the last week or so, and they were about an average of 90 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday. I'll go through them pretty much one at a time, just like we had done before. Looking first at the TerraShell sample, there's only small fragments of the TerraShell left. That piece of metal is the tag that we have the sample number on, and you'll see that in some of the others. Even the pieces that remain in there are pretty much indiscernible, but there's really almost nothing there. Here's the straight PLA. We expected that it may be rather slow in the compost, but it looks like it's having a difficult time in the home compost size system. But as you'll see, if anything is added to the PLA, it seems to accelerate degradation quite a bit. This one here is actually recycled PLA from NatureWorks and Aspen Research. It has some other mineral contents to it, but even the recycled PLA is degrading faster than the straight PLA. Here's that material that we found at a store in town called Dollar Tree, and it has biodegradable written right on it. It's supposed to have some rice content and wheat content or something like that. As you can see, it's not degrading at all. I mean, you can even see the edges of it still. It hasn't even lost any of its shape. So that imported item is not true as far as we can tell, especially compared to these other materials. Here's PLA soy at 50%, and just like the TerraShell, there's almost nothing remaining, and the small fragments that are still in there are almost indiscernible from the rest of the compost. So almost completely gone. Here's PLA soy at 67% to 33% soy, and it is a little slower. Still, you can see that it has growth of microbes on there, and it's still, the activity is still pretty high, but there is still a little bit of it left. Here's PLA soy with DDGS mixed in, and it's a little faster than the 6733 PLA soy that was right next to it there. Not much left there, almost indiscernible of what is remaining. Here's PLA with 20% lignin. This one we would have expected to persist a little longer. Lignin is, of course, one of the most persistent organic molecules in the soil. It's totally natural. It's found in all plants, and it persists there. So used as the composite material, it doesn't help it degrade much. And as you can see, even though it's more brittle, it still has its shape. Here's the PLA protein compound from Aspen Research. It's a trade secret what was actually the protein, but as you can see, that protein really helped that to degrade, even though it's PLA, and PLA on its own wasn't degrading quite as well. PLA Biores. Biores is a modified DDGs. As you can see, it's accelerating the degradation compared to pure PLA. It's moving right along with, like most of the others that have a good filler in it. Here's PLA Biores at 30%. Again, like the other, like those with DDGS in them, it's breaking down quite quickly. Still can see some of the actual shape of the material, but if that were to be broken up, it would probably degrade even faster and probably not be discernible in the compost. PLA corn stover, not degrading quite as quickly as the others that have 20% filler in them. This one only had 10% corn stover, so it would make sense that it wouldn't be quite as fast as the others. But it is degrading, and again, it's like mush. There's really no substance to it at all. The only reason it's still here is that we are being very careful with the samples. PHA soy. It was a container that didn't work especially well. The soy and the PHA don't seem to work well together for any kind of fertilizer effect for the plant, but it does degrade pretty well. As you can see here, there's only a few small pieces left. Here's one that we were especially interested in, the PHA DDGs at 20%. PHA is considered biodegradable on its own. We mixed DDGs in there, and as you can see, there's really nothing left except for the piece that was up against the metal tag. The rest of it is gone. If that wouldn't have been up near the tag, it probably would have been gone also. Probably slowed the organisms down. PHA and starch. This is a commercially available material from Metabolics. It's Myral P1008. As you can see, it's not degrading as quickly as PHA DDGS that we've blended ourselves, but it is degrading. PHA cellulose from Aspen Research. There's really nothing left here. Anything that remains inside the bag is indiscernible from the rest of the compost. Here's something that we weren't really expecting, as we mentioned in the other videos, the paper fiber containers. Here's the uncoated paper fiber container that you can buy. It's not degrading very quickly at all. We suspect that the temperature, the rise in temperature with the compost doesn't have much of an effect on this, so it would be the organisms only. It has degraded some in the soil trials, but it's not degrading very well in the compost at all. Mostly cellulose, of course. Not a good carbon-nitrogen ratio, and here's one of the coated containers. Really no difference except for than the other one, except that it's still glossy on the outside. These are polyurethane coated, and they hold up pretty well in the greenhouse and for short nursery trials, but they're not biodegrading in the compost very well at all. Here's polyamide and lignin. Polyamide is not Not very many of the polyamides are biodegradable, and when you put lignin with it, of course, it doesn't degrade. It has become quite flexible because of the heat, but it's not degrading. Polyamide and DDGs, kind of the same story. Even though it has that fibrous material in there, the polyamide is keeping it from biodegrading. PLA and DDGs at 20%. Like with the Biores, it's actually almost exactly the same as the Biores, which you would expect. The Biores samples, of course, they're modified so that they blend better with plastics as a filler. So there are 7 materials that I would consider completely biodegraded at 6 weeks of composting. The TerraShell container from Summit Plastics, the PLA soy composite that we blended, we had 50% soy, the PLA soy and DDGs composite, the Aspen Research material that was PLA protein, the PHA with 20% DDGs, the Aspen material with PHA and cellulose, and another blend with PHA and soy that we blended at Iowa State.